Hello ladies and gentlemen, how have you been? Well, I hope good. Well, so far we have discussed about human respiratory system, mechanism of breathing, inhalation, exhalation, etc, etc, etc. I have a question for you. Do you think plants breathe or respire? Well, the answer is yes, and I know most of you have said yes with great excitement. Just like any other living organism, they also respire, they are also alive. Well, you're right, but my next question for you is how? Because as far as I know, they don't have a pair of lungs or any other respiratory organs. In the absence of any respiratory organs, how do they breathe? Well, the answer is they have numerous tiny apertures or hole-like structures that are known as stomata or singular stoma. Now, there are two major functions performed by the stomata. One is exchange of gases during photosynthesis and respiration, and second one is transpiration, which is a process by which plant loses a lot of water in the form of water vapor. Now, considering that stomata are performing so important functions for the plant, don't you think we should know more about it, dig deeper into them? Well, yeah, there is a need. Like during daytime, do they open or close, or do they open all the time during day and night? And what is the mechanism behind it? Well, today we are going to understand the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. Right? So as you can see, I have provided two separate diagrams. This one is for the open stoma. As you can see, there is a pore, stomatal pore that is open, and the second one is for the closed stoma. As you can see, I have so many labelings over here. So first deal with the labelings, right? Now these stomatal pore, because stoma is just a minute pore, so it is surrounded by a pair of kidney or bean-shaped cells that are known as guard cells. Now these are the guard cells, right? Here in this case they're saying turgid, and in this case they're saying it's flaccid guard cells. That we'll know towards the end of the video, right? Right now focus on the shape. As you can see, a pair of guard cells that are kidney or bean shaped. Now what do the guard cells contain, right? If you look, they contain one nucleus. Each guard cell will contain one nucleus to control the activities in it. A large sized vacuole, well, yeah, the storehouse, just like any other plant cell. And can you spot these numerous green, almost spherical structures? These are chloroplasts. So each of the guard cells will contain one nucleus, one vacuole, and numerous scattered chloroplasts, right? What else? These guard cells, they're surrounded with epidermal cells. In fact, these guard cells are nothing but the specialized epidermal cells only. Now, if you look closely, the inside wall of the guard cell, which is facing the stoma or the stomatal pore, is comparatively thicker. However, the other wall, the outer wall, which is not facing the stomatal pore, is thin. So that is why the labeling says outer thin wall and inner thick wall. Now, why so? We'll see later on, right? Then, of course, the labelings are same over here. Now, since we have dealt with the labelings, let's understand the concept. Let's understand the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. For that, we need to break it down into two cases. One during daytime, when the sunlight is available, and another one at night when it's dark and there is no sunlight. So in case one, right, the guard cells will contain sugar. Why? Because in the daytime, the sunlight is available. And the plants, with the help of these chloroplasts and chlorophyll, which is a green color pigment present in the chloroplast, so they can photosynthesize because the sunlight is available. And as a result of photosynthesis, what will they form? A carbohydrate in the form of the sugar, right? Now we know the sugar is soluble. So since the sugar is soluble, it will get dissolved in the cytoplasm of the guard cells. And as a result of that, the osmotic concentration of guard cells will increase. Or in simple language, you can say, because there is sugar dissolved in the cytoplasm of the guard cells, so the guard cells will comparatively have less water as compared to the water that is present in the neighboring epidermal cells. And you know, water will move from higher concentration to the lower concentration, but here it's not diffusion, it is osmosis. Right? Now let me define osmosis. Osmosis is a process of transfer of solvent molecules across a semi-permeable membrane from a region of higher solvent concentration to a region of lower solvent concentration. And here the solvent is water. So it's almost like diffusion of water across a semi-permeable membrane, right? And the semi-permeable membrane is, we're referring to the membrane of the guard cells, right? So when the water, which is more in the concentration in the epidermal cells, it will start moving from the epidermal cells into the guard cells. See, water from the neighboring epidermal cells will enter the guard cells. Now, because it is osmosis and the water is entering the guard cells, we call this process as endosmosis. Osmosis, but water is entering into the guard cells, so endosmosis. And as a result of this entry of water and absorbing water, the guard cells will swell. And as a result, they become turgid. So when they become turgid because of the turgor pressure, this outer thin membrane, it will bulge out along with pulling the inner thick elastic membrane. And because of that, the stoma or the stomatal pore will open, right? That is why it's a case of open stoma. So when the guard cell will absorb water, when they become turgid, and this outer thin wall will start pulling, will start bulging out and pulling the inner thick wall, causing the stomatal pore to open. That is a case of open stoma, which is happening in light during daytime. Let's have case 2. In case 2, we have guard cells contain starch. Now, why starch? Because in the absence of photosynthesis, this sugar will get converted into starch, and this starch is insoluble. You know, the plants, they store food or sugar in an insoluble form, which is starch, just like we store food in an insoluble form, but it is not starch, it is glycogen. So in the case of plants, the sugar, it is stored in an insoluble form, which is a starch. Now, starch is insoluble, right? As a result, the osmotic concentration of guard cells would decrease. Or we can say there is more water inside the guard cells as compared to the water which is present in the neighboring epidermal cells. And as a result of osmosis, from where the water will move and to which direction, to which cell? Well, yes, you're right. The water being more inside the guard cells, right? It will start exiting or moving out of the guard cells, and it will move into the neighboring epidermal cells. So because the guard cell is losing water, the water is exiting the guard cell, this process is known as exosmosis, right? X is exiting. What is exiting? The water is exiting the guard cells. And because of that, these guard cells will lose their turgidity and they will become flaccid. That means the wall will collapse. And as a result, the stoma will be closed. So during daytime, the stoma is open. During nighttime, the stoma is closed. Well, I hope I have simplified this topic or this concept, and now you have understood it. Right? Feeling good about it? I hope yes, because when we understand something easily, we do develop interest and we do feel good about it, and feeling good, my friends, is very important. But this is not it. I have, some of the interesting facts for you. Well, the facts are like, well, actually just one fact today. Yeah, don't be so greedy. So there are more stomata on the lower surface or the lower epidermis of the leaf as compared to the upper epidermis of the leaf. Now, why do you think so? Right? Why is it so that there are more in the lower surface or in the lower epidermis of the leaf and one or two more? Well, because when they are present in the lower epidermis, they are not directly illuminated or they're not directly exposed to the sunlight. And in order to reduce the loss of a lot of water loss by transpiration, so that is one of their adaptation. Well, I would say a good adaptation. But I have a question for you. Like, the question is, did the xerophytes or the desert plants, so-called desert plants that grow in extremely dry conditions with very less water available, right? Why do the xerophytes or so-called the desert plants, they have sunken stomata? Well, that is one question. Though, I have another question for you. That is not from biology, that is from our daily life. Since we are talking about adaptations, I would like to ask you one question. In our daily lives, we, go through a lot of situations. We face different situations. And some are good, some are very good that you enjoy and celebrate, right? But some are bothering, troubling, or in fact, at times depressing. Do you think it's good to adapt? Or would you rather not? Well, Please mention your answers in the comment section, and I will be eagerly waiting to read all your answers to both of the questions, right? Not just one question, in the comment section. Well, have you enjoyed today's session, understanding the mechanism which is involved in opening and closing your stomata? Did you have good time? If yes, do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Remember the mission, guys and girls, spreading the goodness of biology. Until then, take very good care of yourselves and your family and friends. Stay happy, healthy and keep smiling. Ta-ra!